Elevator Pitch presents The Usual Suspects, Part 2. Written by Ann C.
When can I expect your novel to be finished?
I'm working on your case, idiot.
I'm surprised you found so much to go on, honestly. I don't suppose you found something to entirely exonerate me when the CPD inevitably decides I'm enjoying my freedom too much?
Not unless I check you over for bullet holes.
Quite forward of you, Detective.
Not that forward. We know the killer was shot.
Do I truly look like a man who's just been shot? Besides, I haven't even had the time to go to the hospital. Shouldn't that clear me?
I wish it were that easy. In a town like this, plenty of doctors will take care of you in the back room if you pay them enough. You look pretty okay, though.
Pretty okay, Not my highest compliment, but I'll take it. It means the world coming from you.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
My point exactly.
You seem pretty calm for a guy under the gun. I told you didn't have to come with me to walk into a trap.
You're the only thing that's standing between me and the electric chair, Nathan. I think it's clear why I wouldn't want you entering such an establishment without proper protection.
Yeah, right.
There's always safety in numbers, Detective. Besides, I spent my years in Italy in a rather covert role, if you catch my meaning. I've acquired a certain level of knowledge that may be of use if we find ourselves in a compromising position.
When?
You don't truly expect this to go well, do you? I thought I hired a professional.
Your drinks, gentlemen?
We didn't order drinks.
At least we get some nice table service before we die. L'chaim.
Detective, don't drink that!
Jesus, LeBlanc. Didn't think you were that jumpy.
Smell my glass, Nathan.
Ugh, what the hell's in the tap water?
Cyanide, my dear detective. I assume you've made an enemy of the owners as well?
How the hell are you this calm about attempted murder?
It won't kill me to mop it up.
I guess not.
I believe you are meant to be telling me a story?
Yeah. I'm the reason their old boss is in jail.
You don't sound too happy about that.
Well, it's one way to lose your job. Turns out he and the commissioner were old pals.
I see why, then.
I didn't know if he saw the rest of the world in anything other than my grayscale vision of it, or if he was just new in town. The way I saw it, Chicago was an old-looking glass, shattered in a million pieces. It promised years and years of bad luck to every sucker unfortunate enough to throw a glance into it. Sure, people went to work, got married, raised kids, had pets, the whole white-collar, white picket fence deal, but they all lived in tacky little boxes in suburbs a 20-minute drive away. They all lived the lives they were promised after the war the way they were supposed to. The way I was supposed to. Maybe I hated the city just because I could see all the wires and gears clearly enough to know they were all dirty as hell. That didn't mean I was going to give up on it, though. Even if the cops would fabricate evidence and the courts would let the innocent fry, one decent person doing his best to save a few people made all the hell I put up with worth it. Even if I debated getting out of bed every morning and I counted broken ribs instead of sheep, it was worth it. I had to keep telling myself that. On the other hand, there was something seductive in LeBlanc's dream for the future. I could see myself as a private eye in some other city, far away from where the cops and the mob walked hand in hand in their desire to see Nathan Archer 6 feet under. I'd catch cheating partners and find missing teens and maybe go after a lost cat or two when all was said and done. Maybe I could find someone to share my dingy little apartment with, even just to keep the bed warm for a while. I could slow down and focus on something other than work. I'd come home to a house smelling like a home-cooked meal, or hell, maybe I'd race to get home first and make it myself. I didn't care what kind of person took up that little space in the little kitchen that occupied my dreams. Maybe somebody taller than me, who didn't mind being the big spoon. Maybe somebody who smelled like home. Maybe someone who looked a lot like Vincent LeBlanc.
You haven't touched your water.
My companion would prefer wine, if you'd be much obliged. Isn't that right?
I'll be right back then.
What the hell are you doing?
Buying us time, my dear detective. I've been enjoying my afternoon with you thus far, and I would hate for it to end so quickly. You'll be gone for a little while longer anyway. It takes precious time to poison a drink, you know.
You seem way too calm about this.
You found yourself in rather peculiar company, Nathan. I've lived quite a storied life. I must tell you of it sometime.
Why not now?
Off the record.
I don't know if I can agree to that. Will it help the case?
Not at all, unless you consider post-war medical procedures to be a test of character.
What's your nose job?
Detective, it was all but shattered.
Sure.
And to think you were doing so well. If you prefer your drinks unpoisoned, you could always redeem yourself over a glass or two back at my apartment.
Your wine, sir.
Send it back.
Yes, sir.
So what do you say, Detective?
I think you're setting me up for a hell of a conflict of interest.
Oh, dream a little. You're far from the only dirty cop on my case.
So long as we're leaving it at drinks, I might agree.
Of course. I wouldn't want to push you to do anything you're not comfortable with.
Hey, don't get smug. I'm not that quick.
And I'm not that careless. I'd like to get to know you better, Detective. That's the honest truth. Besides, I couldn't imagine taking a gentleman to bed so quickly after first meeting him.
Who took a chunk out of your neck then?
I reconnected with an old flame a few days ago and didn't have the time to cover it before coming to your office. Do hope I'm not stoking any jealous streak of yours.
Well...
We made the mutual decision not to reconnect. If that does anything to help.
I mean, I don't see why it should matter to me if you... Oh,
If a kiss to your knuckles can leave you wordless, Detective, I assume you can deduct the answer to your own question.
I think I'm gonna go powder my nose.
Couldn't have been that bad.
Not that. Just run into the bathroom. Don't get poisoned while I'm up.
Anything for you, darling, although I must say that is quite the tall order.
Do your best.
Of course. Before you go, so you might keep a piece of me while you're away?
What do you want me to say? That I'll never wash this hand again?
Ugh, anything but that, actually.
Yeah, see you in a minute. Don't drink anything they bring.
If they keep bringing this abysmal quality of wine, I don't think you'll need to worry about that in the slightest.
Can't ever be too careful. I did what I did best and made a point of getting lost. I knew where the bathroom was. Hell, I could see it from my seat. One thing I couldn't see from my seat was exactly what whoever wrote that note wanted with this. Maybe it was a little dangerous, maybe it was a little stupid, but staying in one spot wasn't going to help me with the case. Twisted maze of chairs and booths coughed me out into a server's hallway, connecting the kitchen and hidden storerooms from Prohibition with the seating area. I wasn't sure how I got in there, but I was pretty sure I'd find a way out if push came to shove. The place was creepy, I had to admit. The rest of the bar was littered with photographs of every almost celebrity who had stopped for a beer there, or even walked past on the sidewalk. But here the walls were bare, hardly lit by flickering bulbs that left the dark color of the mahogany walls near black in the shadow. Maybe I would have had a better chance to appreciate it if I hadn't been interrupted.
Customers aren't allowed back here.
My mistake. Got lost halfway to the men's room. Won't happen again.
You think you're really funny, huh?
Yeah, I do my best stand-up with a gun to my head. Are you gonna lead me back to my booth or not?
You were supposed to be dead half an hour ago.
This is how I know you're not actually gonna shoot. If I was supposed to be dead half an hour ago, you wouldn't be stalling. I've got a hot date with St. Peter, and you're making me late.
If you like your head in one piece, you should keep your mouth shut.
And if you like that tongue of yours inside your head, I try to keep a hold of it.
LeBlanc!
Who the hell are you?
Pick your words carefully, sir. My knife is already better friends with your carotid than it should be. All you need to worry about are my commands. I want you to give me your gun, and then we'll have this conversation like gentlemen. This is a new shirt, and my dry cleaner would skin me if I brought her a number soaked in your blood. Is that understood?
The waiter nodded and did what LeBlanc said without asking another question. When LeBlanc took the gun in his free hand, a grin slashed across his face, sharper than I'd ever seen. Something dangerous flashed in his eyes just then, brighter and crueler than the faint flickering of the bare light bulb off his 6-inch blade. For just a moment, I could almost see the killer the cops made him out to be. He looked like a cat, mere seconds from seizing a baby bird in its jaws, primed to snap its neck and drop the bloody corpse down at my doorstep. Maybe it was wishful thinking, but I could have sworn I saw something else bloom in those eyes. It was a look that said a lot of things I couldn't understand. I tried to pretend one of them wasn't I'm sorry. LeBlanc, you don't have to kill him.
My dear detective, you misinterpret my intentions.
You?
As for our guest, I haven't quite finished with you yet. Much better.
I trusted you, goddammit.
Hush, Nathan, we're talking business now.
He threw the waiter aside and raised a hand again, not to grab him by the collar, but so that ring of his, gold, set with a large black gem, would catch the light. The sight of it was enough to make the waiter wilt, and I couldn't blame him. I'd been an idiot to let him slip a signifier of rank under my nose. Of course he put it on to come here. It would be the only thing keeping all the guns away from him, even if that meant they'd all be pointed at me instead.
You should have known to recognize a superior. I don't like to draw knives on my family, but I can make an excuse for traitorous ones.
What did I do? The boss said he wanted Archer dead if he ever showed his ugly mug in here again.
Oh, now that's just unfair. I've always found Detective Archer quite the sight for sore eyes.
Shut up. For just a moment he did. The gun pressing up my chin went slack in his hand and his bulletproof smile flinched, like what I'd said made something in that cold black heart of his snap. I looked for that sorry in his eyes again, but he looked away before I could find it and pressed the barrel to my temple. I tried my best not to hope too much. That's one of the cruelest things you can do to yourself.
Besides, your boss may have told you he wanted Nathan Archer dead, but I'm afraid he forgot to check with me first. I think the good detective has plenty to offer us alive and talking, though I'm afraid we might just have to find a way to loosen that sharp tongue of his.
You bastard.
I'll do whatever you ask.
As you should. The ring, sir. Good. Now, I'd like you to take the detective away. No head trauma, mind you. I want him fully functioning. Going to go gather my effects, but I want him ready for a private word once I return.
Yes, sir.
And make it quick. I've had a terribly long day, so this shouldn't last more than 20 minutes. Can you handle that, or am I going to have to tell your boss he disobeyed his favorite nephew?
I can handle that, sir.
Good. I'll be seeing you soon, Detective Archer.
Put your hands off me! Get back here!
You'll shut your mouth if you know what's good for you.
What the... Ugh. There were a hell of a lot of places I'd rather come to than tied to a chair in the cellar of a mob joint. I didn't remember passing out, which probably wasn't a good thing, but from the way my mouth tasted and my head swam, I didn't doubt the damn waiter slipped me a Mickey at some point or another. You know there's not much left for you when you can say, "At least I wasn't dead," and mean it, but with a few more broken ribs than I'd like and something cold squirming in my chest. It was one of the only things I could focus on. A clock across the room from me ticked 1 more minute forward. Whoever the hell had set that meeting time was late by 10 minutes, if they'd meant to show up at all. Hell, maybe if I was really that lucky, I'd slept through that whole issue altogether. Maybe it meant losing the lead, but I was happy enough just to have my soul and body in the same place. I didn't do so hot with the boredom, so I tried to untie the rope, sticking bruises into my wrists. When those wouldn't budge, I tried to listen for anything that might help me get the hell out of there instead. It took it long enough, but it seemed like my lucky rabbit's foot was starting to work. Better late than never.
Your usuals, and if anybody asks, the sun sets in the north.
Took him long enough. Now, Mr. Mason, just be grateful it didn't take any longer. Thanks, Tom.
Anytime.
Have you heard anything much about the James LeBlanc case? I thought that was supposed to be more of your division, Mr. District Attorney. Judges are supposed to keep our noses clean.
Good one.
I still know less than I want to know.
I don't want to have to go over the case with you. Don't matter. The police are going to bag his son either way. He's a real piece of work if half the rumors I've heard are true. He's got a type, and I'm not talking broads.
Interesting.
And you'll never believe who he got as a PI.
You're not telling me.
Detective Nathan Archer.
Golly!
I don't even care if the cops are going to have it come off the way they want. I just want to see what the hell happened.
Think he'll crack Archer?
If the dirt I've got on Archer is right, I'd say you barely need to try. I'd bet half the stuff on him's made up, though. Hell of a lot of people want him behind bars for half a dozen reasons each. He tried to bust me on a bribe once, you know.
Come on, what DA hasn't taken a bribe?
That's what I always said. Anyway, apparently the cops told him Archer was a good pick, so he might take his case there and make him look like a real piece of work for trying to defend him. If he gets Archer wrapped around his finger, it's even better.
How rough were the cops with the LeBlanc kid?
Pretty bad.
Then that shouldn't be too hard. Common enemy.
Exactly. This looks great for you and me both if we can smear him and throw him in the slammer, with an electric chair for LeBlanc if the boys in blue can plant that evidence right for us. Come election time, we might as well be running unopposed.
Shh. Ears everywhere, Chuck.
Yeah, whatever. How about a toast?
To what, exactly?
Killing Nathan Archer's career and client with one stone.
I'll drink to that.
God damn it.
You're not getting out of this so easily, I'm afraid. I believe we've already met, though you might still be waking up from that drink my coworker had to mix for you. My name is Frank Wolfe. I believe we ran into one another at the crime scene today.
What the hell are you doing here?
I'm meant to be asking the questions, Detective Archer.
Oh, good luck getting anything out of me.
Oh, sure. I'm trembling in my boots.
Shut up.
I'm afraid I'm incapable of such a thing. Now, if you would rather talk, I won't stop you, though I'm afraid that would require giving me information.
Like hell, I'm gonna do.
Is that enough to persuade you?
You probably need some cash and a few drinks in me, but I believe your knife a hell of a lot more than I believe your big talk.
I'm sure. Why have you been at the LeBlanc residence as of late?
Unlike you, I was paid to be there.
If you like your fingernails on your hand, you ought to do your best to be polite.
You kidnapped me, goddammit. Why the hell do I have to be polite to you?
Because it doesn't waste my time. What has Mr. LeBlanc told you about me?
It's confidential.
That was fairly shallow, Detective Archer. What has Mr. LeBlanc told you about me?
Used to work for his dad. Got fired. Something about trading business secrets.
Very well, then. I'm sorry to say you've wasted a scar over information that was not particularly well protected.
I'm gonna guess you were selling those secrets here.
We like to keep an ear on the wealthy in a city like this, particularly those who try to keep their business to themselves. I suspected Vincent of having a certain background.
What kind of... Okay.
So I made an attempt to get closer to him. He found me out, unfortunately, and I lost a rather lucrative operation, so when I heard he'd been taken into police custody, I was all too happy to see what I could do to assist our law enforcement.
Why the hell are you telling me this?
I would hate for you to be blind to the extent of your failure. I don't doubt Vincent is already making his escape without you. A terrible decision on his part, I must say. Once I kill you, he'll be without any defense against a slew of officers who already want to see what he looks like fried.
No, he wouldn't.
Would he, though, Detective? You hardly know him. How are you so sure that you're not just a sacrifice he's made to trade for a new name and a quick route out of town? Do you even know his true name, Detective?
What the hell do you mean?
I tell you, but I'm afraid we have company. Would you mind using the other wine cellar? I'm in the midst of an interrogation, and I'd hate to...
There he was. Maybe I could only see him because of the flickering naked light bulb overhead and the sticky red reflection off a Wolfe's blade, but it was undeniably him. Vincent LeBlanc, whatever the hell his name was, stood there like a marble statue. His jaw set and his ice cold, and the barrel of the same gun he threatened me with pressed to the back of Frank Wolfe's head. There was something sublime about him. I didn't know if it was the halo of light above his dark hair, the noble curve of his Roman nose, or the way he wielded the pistol like it was God's wrath. But even with all the anger boiling in my chest, I couldn't bring myself to look away.
It's nice to be in your company again, Mr. Dupont.
What did you do to him?
Barely touched him. There's hardly any need to be so dramatic.
He's bleeding.
You're not dead yet.
If your knife moves an inch, I'll pull the trigger.
Save it for later, Vincent. We can have this conversation like gentlemen. Why don't you put the gun away and we can discuss how to keep you out of the electric chair?
The last time I checked, Frank, gentlemen didn't threaten one another's lives.
That's a bold statement to make while holding a pistol to another man's head.
You're going to get me killed if you make him spend so much as a day in recovery.
I'm aware.
He's innocent, Frank. Doesn't that mean anything to you?
He's valuable. That's all I need to care about.
You bastard.
I wouldn't go that far.
Going to kill him or not?
That much seemed fairly obvious. It wouldn't seem so terrible a price. You hand us the detective and we'll get you out of here. Isn't that what you wanted?
Don't patronize me.
No patronizing necessary, Dupont. Detective, did he ever tell you that was his name? He changed it after the war, you know. He wanted to cover his tracks so we wouldn't find him.
If you don't be quiet, I'll shoot you. That is a promise.
You've been threatening me for long enough that I don't think I entirely believe you.
Do you really want those to be your last words?
All I need to do is scream, and both you and the detective will be dead. Cat got your tongue, Mr. Dupont?
I'm not going to ask again. What did you do to him?
A stab wound, to get him to talk if you must know. At most, it'll be a slow bleed out just to cover my bases if I'm drawn away somewhere else.
If you need him dead, why are you prolonging it?
Keeping the option open. You're not an idiot, Vincent. You know the right choice to make.
Shut up.
Don't tell me you've fallen for him.
I said shut up.
You always were a fool, Dupont. Fell fast and hard for anyone who said they'd keep your secret safe.
What the hell happened to you?
I never changed. You, on the other hand...
Detective, are your hands bound or cuffed?
What the hell do you want with me?
I'm asking the questions here. Bound or cuffed?
Rope. Why? Shh.
I'm right here.
What the... Shh. Don't hurt me.
I'm not going to hurt you, darling. I'm so sorry any of them ever laid a finger on you. I promise I'll drop the case immediately and pay you double. You shouldn't have ever had to go through a thing like this on my behalf. I'll even tend to your leg myself if you want. I have plenty of first aid equipment in my apartment. I won't even make you walk, though. If you'd rather I take you to a medical professional, I'll pay for everything.
LeBlanc, what the hell is happening?
Oh, Nathan, I'm so sorry you thought for a second I'd betrayed you. I was going to tell you my plan, but then I saw the waiter go off with a gun and I knew I had to act fast. I had no idea he would even be here. I tried my best to revive you and slip out when I found out they drugged you, but I couldn't get the chance and...
I'm all right.
Of course.
You gonna be okay?
You're bleeding.
Doesn't matter if I'm bleeding. You look like hell.
Whatever Frank might have done to me doesn't change the fact that I once made the mistake of loving him. That was somewhat painful, I must admit. However, had I let him live, he would have killed the both of us. I would much rather live in a world without him than you, my dear detective.
Oh. I'm really sorry to hear about that.
Doesn't matter. Just keep your voice down, Nathan. They think I'm killing you.
So why the hell was I involved?
He's held my my preferences over my head before for the purpose of blackmail. I didn't doubt this was another trade. Your life and my safety, even if it meant they still knew my location.
Jesus.
We need to get you out of here before they can deal with any of that. Can you put your arms around my shoulders for me, love?
I can walk on my own.
I don't want to test your leg. Had Wolfe been any better with a knife, you'd be dying right now.
That's comforting. Hey, can you, check Wolfe over for bullet holes while you're up?
There appears to be one very large, very fresh one in his head. I can't speak for any others.
I shouldn't have bothered asking. What's the deal with the ring?
I managed to secure a high position in this specific ring of organized crime in the few years I spent in Italy after the war. I've kept this ring since, just in case any of them should want to take their revenge on me after landing so many of their best in prison.
Thought you said you went back to change.
Can't I do both?
Wolfe said something about your name.
He didn't mention a first name, did he?
No, why would he?
As concerning as it is to know he's told you my family name, I'm far more comfortable with it in your hands.
What's wrong with Dupont?
Nothing in particular. I always liked the name. It just happened to be the same one I used in Italy while serving as a spy for the United States. The government advised me to uproot and change it once I returned home, but with my father's failing health, I stayed with him. We both compromised and changed our surnames and agreed never to speak of the other. I made the mistake of entrusting it to Frank. Well, I don't think he ever truly loved me. He just knew how to act it well. If he had, he wouldn't continually use the name to blackmail me. I was a fool to trust him.
God, I'm so sorry.
No need, Detective. That particular burden is over now.
I can keep calling you LeBlanc if you want.
I see no harm in entrusting it to you, unless you're also an employee of the Mafia attempting to siphon off my wealth and probably life.
Nope, I'm busy enough at the office.
Then you're free to have my true name, Vincent Dupont.
Vincent Dupont. Not bad.
It sounds nice coming from someone who cares for it. Having only ever heard it come from that wretched man and my father, well, it's been some time since someone has regarded it kindly, that's all.
I'm not giving up on your case, by the way. A few broken ribs and a stab wound isn't my worst.
You're bleeding terribly.
I've bled worse.
Hold on to me a bit tighter for a moment. I need to get the door.
You can set me down, you know. I'm not gonna break just because you stopped holding me or whatever.
After the day I've had, I'm sure you can see why I'd rather not.
When did you get so sweet on me?
How much blood have you lost?
I mean it.
I suppose I've always regarded you fondly.
Funny way of showing it. Usually I don't get held at gunpoint until the second day.
I was saving your life, Nathan. The waiter would have killed you without hesitation, as would Wolfe.
I'm just teasing you.
You'd better be.
Where are we?
My apartment. Wolfe never had that address, so none of his co-workers do. It's far safer than a hospital, and I was given sufficient medical training during the war.
Thought you wanted to get to know me better before you took me home.
Oh, do be quiet.
Never.
I was afraid you'd say that.
Hey, Vincent?
My surname, if you don't mind.
Yeah, got it. Dupont?
Yes?
Will you tell me some more about Italy?
As much as I can. We're almost home, Detective.
I don't care. I just like hearing you talk about it. He lit up in a way I'd never seen when he talked about Italy. The occasional shadow might cross his face, but only in the way a shadow blinks by when driving at night. His face was all white, from windows and street lamps and glowing neon storefronts. I barely listened to what he talked about. I couldn't follow names or places with my heart still pounding like it was trying to break out, but I could still watch the way he smiled, as if remembering his favorite climbing tree as a kid. I'd spent most of my life worried about the city, but just for once I couldn't spare a glance for it. I was too busy looking at the enigma in the driver's seat to care. You can set me down.
Not nearly that cruel.
Make every guy you take home feel like a potato sack?
Only the ones who've been stabbed.
Here I was thinking I was special.
Dear.
Yeah, sorry.
Nothing to apologize for, Detective.
Carrying me up a fire escape and throwing me through a window. Make one hell of a fireman.
Trying my best to be gentle.
That little ribbon never killed anybody.
Oh, my ego has been damaged beyond repair. I don't see how I'm ever meant to recover, you brute.
Sorry, can't reimburse you for your pride. Fine print of that contract you signed when you hired me.
Wretched swindler, you.
Now who's the one shattering the ego?
Make yourself comfortable. I'll be back with the first aid kit as soon as I can find the damn thing. Apologies for the scenery. It's not much, I suppose, but it's home.
Worse roofs to have over your head.
I suppose so. I'll be back.
Dupont pulled the cord as he went, filling the one-room apartment with the kind of light old pain has dreamed about. It was soft. A friend of the inky darkness instead of an enemy. The kind of gold the sun tried for when it died every year, and then he turned the corner and it was just yellow again. He left the bedroom door open long enough for me to catch sight of him throwing parts and pieces of a first aid kit together from where they'd been scattered over the neatly made sheets. I would have been a little more suspicious if the rest of his mouse hole had been any neater. He didn't exactly have a lot of shelves. Most everything just made a home on one surface or another. I couldn't find a couch, so I just took a seat on one of the hard-backed wooden chairs sitting around what might have been a coffee table under a small mountain of newspapers and magazines and mugs. In a place where most everything was messy, anything neat stuck out like a sore thumb. That's how my eyes ended up on a black leather suitcase propped against the wall and the shiny new passport tucked beneath the handle. Going somewhere soon.
I didn't think you missed me that much, Detective. Are mere seconds away from me too much?
The bag.
A residual piece of hope, I'm afraid. I've been trying to leave for some time, as I told you. However, a disappearance would require significantly more money than I have at the moment.
Yeah, I guess Wolfe didn't make it much better.
Right you are. Is your leg still bleeding?
Not much.
Do you mind if I took a look at it?
I kinda hoped you would, actually. Hate to stain your chair.
Hold this on it while I check the ribs.
So why'd you keep the first aid kit out?
Well, it was far more shaken up by the crime scene than I expected, and it stirred up quite the headache. Unfortunately, it seemed I'd hidden the pain pills from myself, and I had to tear the wretched thing apart just to find them.
You feeling any better?
Much, but first and foremost, I'm concerned about you. May I unbutton your shirt?
I'm not gonna break.
I don't want to come anywhere near the boundary of what you're comfortable with.
Go for it. You don't have to go so slow.
I'm just being careful with you, dear. Is that such a crime?
You're gonna be the death of me.
Where does it hurt?
How specific do you want?
I need to know how to help you, Nathan. Am I doing something wrong?
Nothing, it's just... It's fine, just keep doing what you're doing.
Of course. Doesn't look like I'll have to do any stitches, though I can't particularly tell from this angle.
You got stitches in that thing.
A gift from my family's private surgeon.
You know I can move somewhere else if you want. Your back's gotta be killing you like that anyway.
I've weathered far worse.
I mean, I don't really need to be in a chair like this. It's not gonna kill my dignity to lay down.
Don't be ridiculous, Nathan. I'm not going to lay you on the floor if you're this injured.
I didn't mean the floor.
Detective, I've hardly checked you over for broken ribs yet. I could never live with myself if
I took him by the hand then, just so I might catch his gaze next. Both sets of those long, clever fingers fell away from the front of my shirt, still hovering there as if to keep me from falling off some ledge I couldn't see. I couldn't tell what was going on in those soft, dark eyes of his, though I could tell whatever it was had depths I didn't want to think about. Maybe I was lying to myself when I said that. I didn't know. Those hands, those bloodied hands, wavered, both tentative and sure in their grasp on my own. Hands stained red just so I'd be alive to hold them again. It wasn't the first time I'd been rescued. It wasn't even the first time I'd been rescued by a client. But there was something about the way he looked at me then. Like he'd take off with that suitcase in an instant if he knew his other hand would be on my own, for as long as it took to chase a bright new future. That made my heart stop in a way I never knew it could. I didn't know what to say next. I don't think he did either, so he just pressed a kiss to the back of my hand and trailed away. I think he took some part of me with him when he did.
Don't lift the comforter. I just bought new sheets.
Got it. I tucked my gun away on the bedside table and finished undressing just to give him a decent view of all the newborn bruises blooming all over me like some kind of jaundiced bouquet. And he didn't look away. I didn't think I wanted him to. those eyes. Soft and dark and sharp and bright all in one impossible breath that was just as impossible as he was. Well, I was beginning to think I couldn't live without him. I knew it was a dangerous kind of thought to have. From the smile on his face when he sat at my side and the smile on mine when he ran a hand through my hair, I didn't think I had it in me to care.
You're beautiful.
You didn't think there were any mirrors in here for you to talk to.
Detective, are you flirting with me?
You're killing me, Mr. Dupont.
Try your best to stay alive a little longer.
How much longer? I'm an impatient guy.
Until I'm done with you, and I do hope that won't be for some while. Now take a deep breath. This might hurt. Shh. Remember to breathe. There you are.
So you don't want to call the hospital?
I don't have a telephone. Besides, I don't doubt their procedure would be any less painful than this.
Ugh.
The worst should be over now anyway. Hold your leg up. Not like that.
Listen, how the hell am I supposed to...
Must I do everything myself?
Oh.
Hold still while I finish with the bandages.
Yup.
That should do it. Did you hear any cracking noises when you were hit?
That might have just been my hope in humanity breaking.
Oh, hush.
No snaps.
These bruises, I wouldn't doubt some of these may be cracked.
I don't know, I've cracked a rib before and...
Did that hurt?
No, just didn't expect it, that's all.
I'm going to need to touch them to discern whether or not there's any severe damage.
Yeah, that's fine. You've got cold hands, that's it.
My apologies. Would you mind holding them for just a moment so they might warm up?
You're so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Everything looking okay up there?
Oh, Detective.
How bad is it?
I'm so terribly sorry you had to go through something like this for my sake.
It's not the worst I've heard.
I don't care if it's not the worst you've endured. I care that you're hurt now, dear.
So, what's the verdict, Doc?
It's one I suspect may be cracked, though it doesn't seem to be giving you too much trouble. I'll keep an eye on your leg, but otherwise you should be fit as a fiddle in no time. I'd suggest bed rest, no strenuous activity, no lifting anything over 10 pounds.
I'm a big kid, Dupont. I can take care of myself.
Forgive me for worrying about the man who holds my life in his hands.
Thanks for the bandages, at least. Anything you can do for the pain?
Not much, I'm afraid. Where does it hurt?
I don't know, just about everywhere.
Could you point to a spot?
Here? Oh.
Oh, indeed. Where else? Anywhere else I can kiss better for you, Nathan?
He squeezed his hand. I took a breath. I looked at the man who threatened and saved my life too many times to count in those soft, dark eyes of his, and pointed to my lips. Kissing Vincent Dupont was like coming home. He was everything I'd ever wanted, and everything I didn't deserve. Everything I'd never get. It was hard to focus on that with one hand on my face and another hand in my hair, like he had to cling to me just to prove to himself that I wasn't going anywhere. If he could just hold on to me for dear life, I couldn't die, or leave, or sell him out. I kissed him back as if a kiss could mean, I'm here. I'm staying. I won't give up on you now. I don't know if he understood me, but by then my mind had wandered. The hungry look in his eyes when we broke apart was doing a hell of a lot more talking than his lips.
Detective, you cad, you'll break my glasses.
I'll buy you new ones.
This isn't what I meant by bed rest, you know.
Want me to stop?
Don't make me regret saving your life.
Oh, that's cold, Dupont.
No colder than me. Now get back here. I miss you terribly.
Can't be that bad. I've only been gone a second. Whoop! Hey!
You torment me.
Absence makes the heart. Do something.
Very eloquent of you.
God, I hate you.
Hate me enough to quit unbuttoning my shirt?
I don't think there's anybody strong enough to do that.
I don't necessarily need it taken off. Most of my medical scarring isn't anything to look at.
Baby, I don't care about your medical scarring.
It's wretched.
It's just another part of you.
That's what I despise about it.
No, I'm saying that I'd be a piece of shit to just pick and choose the parts of you I like.
As lovely as that sentiment is.
Yeah, I get it. You don't have to believe it. It took me a long time to be able to look at mine in the mirror either, so...
I just don't think I'm entirely comfortable taking it off.
Why do you have a fresh bullet wound?
Nathan,
Answer me.
Because my father shot me.
And you killed him.
And I killed him.
God damn it, I shouldn't have kept making excuses for you.
If you would just let me explain.
You said you couldn't call the hospital because you didn't have a telephone. If you didn't, how the hell did your dad call you in the first place for your alibi? And that first aid kit, you stopped at home to redo your bandages, not to change.
Nathan, I'm begging you. I need you to believe me when I say that...
And you didn't want the comforters back because of the bloodstains. With a first aid kit like that and whatever medical knowledge you say you've got, it wouldn't be too hard to take it out yourself. Isn't that right, Dupont?
Nathan!
And in the office, you weren't trying to be honest when you told me about all that information you wanted to keep quiet. You wanted dirt on me, just in case I figured any of this out, so you offered a little bit on yourself to see if I'd spill.
Are you going to shoot me, detective?
I haven't decided yet. You better have one hell of a story.
This episode featured Ethan S. as Nathan Archer, Ellis G. as Vincent Dupont, Anissa Danny C. as the waiter, Lilly F. as District Attorney Mason, Kit A. as Judge Hollis, and Ethan W. as Frank Wolfe. The music in this episode was adapted, written, and performed by Ann C. and Carl J. Ferrara. It was written by Ann C. and produced by Rae F. Special thanks to Ellis G. for the episode art. If you like this episode, please consider following us on Twitter and TikTok at ElevatorPitchP. If you're willing and able, please consider checking us out on Ko-Fi at Elevator Pitch Podcast and taking a look at our donation rewards. Elevator Pitch is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike 4.0 International License. Thank you for listening.